Owen Mitchell had exactly $14 in his wallet when he left the office that night. He knew because he'd counted it twice during his lunch break, trying to figure out if he could afford both dinner and the electric bill that was due tomorrow. The electric bill won. Dinner would be the leftover pasta he'd made 3 days ago. The December wind hit him like a slap the moment he stepped outside. 15 degrees, the weather app had said that morning. He should have worn his heavy sweater under the coat, but it was still in the laundry basket at home. Owen pulled his coat tighter and headed toward the bus stop 3 blocks away. The city looked different at night. During the day, Chicago was all hustle and energy, people rushing everywhere with their coffee cups and important phone calls. But at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night, it felt empty. The kind of empty that makes you walk a little faster. Owen had been working late again. 3rd time this week. His boss kept piling on extra projects, always with that same line, "Just need you to take care of this real quick." Nothing was ever real quick. But Owen never said no. He was only 28, still trying to prove himself at the accounting firm. Still trying to convince himself that crunching numbers for 8 hours a day was what he was meant to do with his life. The bus stop was nearly deserted when he got there. Just one other person, a woman standing near the bench. She was dressed like she'd just come from some important meeting. Dark gray suit, nice shoes. The kind of professional look that Owen associated with people who had corner offices and personal assistants. But something was very wrong with the picture. She had no coat. Owen blinked, thinking maybe he was seeing things. But no, she was definitely standing there in just her suit jacket, and she was shaking. Not the casual shiver you do when you first step outside. This was the kind of shaking that comes when your body is legitimately trying to keep itself alive. He looked around, thinking maybe she'd just stepped away from a car or something. But there was no car, no taxi pulling up, just her standing there, arms wrapped around herself, her face tight with cold. Owen walked closer. "Hey, are you okay?" She looked up, startled. Up close, he could see she was probably in her early 50s with short dark hair and the kind of tired eyes that come from crying. Or maybe just from a really bad day. Her lips had a slight blue tint. "I'm fine," she said, but her teeth were chattering so hard she could barely get the words out. "You don't look fine. Where's your coat?" She laughed, but it came out bitter. Long story. Very, very long story. Owen didn't know what to do. He wasn't the type to get involved in other people's business. Growing up, his mom had always warned him about talking to strangers in the city. But this wasn't some scam or setup. This was just a person who was freezing to death at a bus stop. "How long have you been out here?" he asked. "Maybe 30 minutes? I don't know. My phone died, so I can't even check." She glanced down the empty street. "I'm just waiting for the crosstown bus. 30 minutes. In 15-degree weather." Owen felt his own face stinging from just 5 minutes of being outside. He didn't think about it. Didn't weigh the pros and cons or wonder if this was smart. He just unzipped his coat and held it out to her. "Here, take this." She stared at him like he'd just offered her $1 million. "What? No, I can't take your coat." "You're freezing. So are you. I'll be okay. My bus comes in like 10 minutes. He had no idea if that was true. The buses were always late. "Come on, just take it." She shook her head firmly. "I appreciate it, but no. You need it." Owen stepped closer and basically draped the coat over her shoulders before she could protest again. "Look, I'm not asking. You've been out here for half an hour already. I'm not going to stand here and watch you turn into a popsicle." She clutched the coat around herself, and he could see the relief wash over her face as the warmth hit her. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," but she was still shivering even with the coat. Owen unwrapped his scarf, the blue one his sister had given him last Christmas, and handed that over too. "Now you're just being ridiculous," she said. But she took the scarf and wrapped it around her neck. They stood there in awkward silence for a moment. Owen shoved his hands in his pockets and tried not to think about how cold he already was. "The wind had teeth tonight. Bad day?" he asked, just to make conversation. She let out a long breath. "The worst. Absolutely the worst day of my entire professional life. Want to talk about it?" "Not really," she paused. "Actually, maybe. I don't know. Do you ever have one of those days where you question everything? Every decision you've ever made, every person you've trusted, everything you've built?" Owen thought about his own life. The accounting job he hated. The student loans that would take 20 years to pay off. The tiny apartment he could barely afford. "Yeah," he said quietly. I know exactly what you mean. She looked at him with something like surprise, as if she hadn't expected him to understand. I had this important meeting today. Everything fell apart. People I thought were loyal weren't. Plans I thought were solid crumbled. And then my driver, who I've worked with for 7 years, decided tonight was the night to quit. Just walked off. Left me stranded. She laughed again, that same bitter sound. I couldn't even get a cab. My phone died. I haven't taken public transportation in probably 20 years, and I don't even know if I'm at the right stop. Where are you trying to go? She named a neighborhood on the north side. The crosstown bus goes there, right? Yeah, you're at the right stop. Owen checked the electronic sign, but it was broken. Of course it was. Should be here soon. Thank you. She pulled the coat tighter. For the coat. For the scarf. For not thinking I'm crazy. You're not crazy. Just having a bad day. That's putting it mildly. They fell into silence again. Owen was really starting to feel the cold now. His fingers were going numb and he couldn't stop shivering. But every time he looked at her, wrapped in his coat, he knew he'd made the right choice. What's your name? She asked suddenly. Owen. Owen Mitchell. She reached out a hand. It's nice to meet you, Owen Mitchell. Thank you for restoring a tiny bit of my faith in humanity tonight. He shook her hand, which was finally starting to feel warm. Anyone would have done the same thing. No, she said firmly. They really wouldn't have. Headlights appeared down the street. A bus, finally. She glanced at the number. That's mine, she said. She started to take off the coat, but Owen stopped her. Keep it. You've got a longer ride than me. I can't just take your coat. You can give it back some other time, if we ever run into each other again. He smiled. Chicago's not that big. She looked at him for a long moment, like she was memorizing his face. Owen Mitchell, she said again. I won't forget that name. The bus pulled up with a hiss of brakes. She climbed on, turning back one last time. Stay warm, she called out. You too. The bus pulled away, taking his coat and scarf with it. Owen stood there alone at the bus stop, the wind cutting through his thin shirt. His bus wouldn't come for another 40 minutes according to the schedule he finally pulled up on his phone. He was definitely going to freeze. But somehow, he didn't regret it. Not even a little bit. 2 weeks passed and Owen never saw his coat again. He'd stopped thinking about it mostly, bought a cheaper replacement from a discount store, the kind that looked okay but didn't really keep the wind out. Every time he shivered on his way to work, he thought about that woman at the bus stop and hoped she was doing better than he was. Because Owen's life had taken a turn. It started on a Thursday morning. His boss called everyone into the conference room, which was never a good sign. The company was downsizing, he said. Budget cuts, restructuring. All those corporate words that really just mean, some of you are losing your jobs. Owen was one of them. They gave him 2 hours to pack his desk. 2 hours to box up 3 years of his life. The little plant his sister had given him. The coffee mug that said, I'm an accountant, what's your superpower? That he'd always thought was kind of lame, but kept anyway. The photo of his parents on his desk. His co-worker Jennifer cried when she heard. She was staying, but she felt guilty about it. This is so unfair, she kept saying. You work harder than anyone here, but fair didn't matter. Numbers mattered. And apparently, Owen's salary was one of the numbers they could cut. He took the bus home in the middle of the day, his cardboard box on his lap, feeling like everyone could see unemployed stamped on his forehead. His apartment felt too quiet when he got there. He set the box down on his kitchen table and just stared at it. The rent was due in 2 weeks. His student loan payment was due in 5 days. His credit card was already maxed out from last month when his car had needed repairs. Owen opened his laptop and started updating his resume. What else could he do? The next 2 weeks were a blur of job applications. He sent out 43 resumes, 43, he got 3 responses. 2 were automated rejections. 1 was for an interview. But they wanted someone with 5 years more experience than he had. He went anyway. Didn't get it. He started eating less, making his groceries stretch. Rice and beans became his best friends. He stopped buying coffee, started making it at home. Canceled his streaming subscriptions. Every penny counted now. His mom called twice. He didn't tell her about losing his job. She'd worry, and she had enough to worry about with his dad. His medical bills. He told her everything was great. Work was busy. He was fine. He wasn't fine. On a Monday afternoon, exactly 16 days after that night at the bus stop, someone knocked on his apartment door. Owen opened it to find a delivery guy holding a large package. "Owen Mitchell? That's me. Sign here." Owen signed, confused. He wasn't expecting anything. He carried the package inside, checking the return address. Nothing. Just his name and address on the label. He opened it carefully, and his breath caught. His coat. The blue one he'd given away. It had been dry cleaned, pressed, looked better than it had in years. Underneath it was his scarf folded neatly, and there was an envelope. Owen picked it up with shaking hands. The paper was thick, expensive, the kind of stationery that probably cost more than his entire week's grocery budget. He opened it and pulled out a handwritten note. The handwriting was elegant, the kind you don't see much anymore. Everyone just typed everything these days. "Dear Owen," it read, "I've been thinking about you every day since that night at the bus stop. Your kindness came at a moment when I had lost faith in people, in my work, in everything I'd built. You gave me your coat without hesitation, without knowing who I was or whether you'd ever see it again. You just saw someone who needed help, and you helped. In a world where everyone seems to want something, you wanted nothing. Thank you for reminding me that good people still exist. Your coat is returned, cleaned, and with gratitude. I hope our paths cross again someday. With deepest appreciation, VB." At the bottom of the box was a business card. Owen picked it up, and his entire world tilted sideways. Victoria Brennan, Chief Executive Officer, Brennan Industries. He stared at the card for a full minute. Then he grabbed his phone and typed the name into Google. The first thing that came up was her photo. It was definitely her. Same face, same eyes, though in the professional headshot she looked more composed than she had that night. She was smiling in that polished way that executives smile in corporate photos. Owen kept scrolling. Victoria Brennan, founder and CEO of Brennan Industries, one of the largest manufacturing companies in the Midwest. Net worth estimated at over $2 billion. Named one of Fortune's most powerful women 3 years running. Philanthropist. Board member of 6 different organizations. He'd given his coat to a billionaire. Owen sat down hard on his couch. He thought about that night. How she'd been shaking from the cold. How lost she'd looked. How she'd talked about questioning everything in her life. She'd seemed so human, so normal, so much like him, and she was a billionaire. He looked at the business card again. There was a phone number printed on it, the office line. But on the back, written in the same elegant handwriting, was another number. A cell phone number. Owen's hands were sweating. He could call. He could call right now. He was unemployed. Desperate. And he had a direct line to one of the most powerful businesswomen in Chicago. But something in his stomach twisted at the thought. He'd given her that coat because she was cold. Not because of who she was or what she could do for him. He hadn't known. That's what made it matter. If he called her now asking for help, asking for a job, wouldn't that ruin it? Wouldn't that make it transactional? Like he'd been kind because he wanted something in return? Owen set the card down on his coffee table and stared at it. His phone buzzed. Text message from his landlord. Rent reminder due in 3 days, 3 days. He had exactly $240 in his checking account. His rent was $850. He picked up the business card again, turned it over, looked at that handwritten phone number. It would be so easy. One phone call. She clearly remembered him, clearly felt grateful. People helped each other all the time in the business world. It's who you know, everyone said that. This was who he knew now, but he'd never been that person. The kind who used people. The kind who saw every interaction as an opportunity. Owen put the card in his wallet, behind his driver's license where he wouldn't see it every time he opened it. He went back to his laptop and kept applying for jobs. Over the next week, he sent out 20 more applications. He got one interview at a firm across town. They said they'd let him know. They never did. His landlord called. Owen explained the situation, asked for an extension. His landlord was understanding, gave him 2 more weeks. But that was it. Owen ate rice for dinner 4 nights in a row. He started looking at roommate ads, thinking maybe he'd have to give up his apartment and share a place with strangers. He was 28 years old and moving backward in life. The business card stayed in his wallet. Every night he'd take it out. Look at that phone number. Put it back, his sister called. How are you doing? Fine, he lied. You don't sound fine. Just tired. Work stuff, he couldn't tell her either. Couldn't tell anyone. It felt like admitting failure. On the 14th day after receiving the package, Owen's bank account hit $63. He had 3 days until his extended rent deadline. No job prospects, no plan. He took out the business card one more time. The note had said she hoped their paths would cross again. Maybe this was the universe telling him to swallow his pride. Maybe there was nothing wrong with accepting help from someone who wanted to give it, or maybe he was just desperate and looking for excuses. Owen stared at the phone number until his vision blurred. He still didn't call. The phone call came on a Tuesday morning, 3 days after Owen had stared at that business card for the 100th time and still couldn't bring himself to dial. He was in his apartment, halfway through a bowl of instant oatmeal that was supposed to be his breakfast and lunch, when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Usually those were spam calls trying to sell him extended car warranties or telling him his social security number had been suspended. But something made him pick up. Hello? Good morning. Is this Owen Mitchell? The voice was professional, polished, the kind of voice that belonged to someone who wore expensive suits and had their calendar managed by other people. Yes, this is Owen. My name is Patricia Chen. I'm the executive assistant to Victoria Brennan at Brennan Industries. Ms. Brennan was wondering if you might have time to meet with her for coffee. Owen's oatmeal went cold in his hand. I'm sorry, what? Ms. Brennan would like to meet with you. If you're available, of course. She suggested tomorrow morning around 10. There's a cafe downtown. Lucia's on 5th Street. Do you know it? Owen's mind was racing. She wanted to meet him. Why? He hadn't called. Hadn't asked for anything. Yeah. I know where that is. Wonderful. Shall I confirm you for 10 tomorrow morning? I guess, yes, that works. Perfect. Ms. Brennan is looking forward to it. Have a lovely day, Mr. Mitchell. She hung up before he could ask any questions. Owen sat there with his phone in one hand and his bowl of oatmeal in the other, completely frozen. Victoria Brennan wanted to meet him. A woman worth billions of dollars wanted to have coffee with him. The rest of the day was a blur of anxiety. He tried on every shirt he owned, trying to figure out what you wear to have coffee with a CEO. Too casual felt disrespectful. Too formal felt like he was trying too hard. He settled on a button-down shirt and his one pair of nice jeans, the ones without any holes. He barely slept that night. The next morning, Owen got to Lucia's 15 minutes early. The cafe was one of those upscale places where coffee cost $8 and came with foam art on top. He ordered the cheapest thing on the menu, a regular coffee, and sat at a table near the window. His leg wouldn't stop bouncing. At exactly 10 o'clock, Victoria Brennan walked in. She looked different than she had at the bus stop, put together, confident. She wore a dark blazer and carried herself like someone who was used to walking into rooms and having everyone pay attention. But when she spotted Owen and smiled, he saw the same person from that cold night. The same tired eyes. Owen. She reached out to shake his hand. Thank you for meeting me. Of course. Thank you for, inviting me. They sat down. A waiter appeared immediately, like he'd been waiting for her. She ordered something complicated with almond milk and an extra shot. The waiter disappeared. I imagine you're wondering why I asked you here, Victoria said. A little bit, yeah. She folded her hands on the table. I've been thinking about you a lot since that night. About what you did. It was just a coat. No. She shook her head firmly. It wasn't just a coat. It was kindness when I needed it most. Do you know what happened that night? Before I ended up at that bus stop. Owen shook his head. I had a board meeting. The worst one of my career. 3 of my board members tried to force me out of my own company, people I'd worked with for 15 years. They said I was too focused on people and not focused enough on profits. They wanted to cut our employee benefits, outsource manufacturing to save money, basically gut everything I'd built the company on. She paused, her jaw tight. The vote was close. I kept my position, but barely. And then my driver, who I'd trusted for years, told me he'd been offered more money to work for one of those board members. He quit on the spot, left me standing on the street. That's brutal, Owen said quietly. I was going to resign. That night, standing at that bus stop, I had already decided. I was going to give up everything I'd spent 25 years building because I was just tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of people only caring about money. She looked directly at him. And then you showed up. You didn't know who I was, didn't know what I could do for you. You just saw someone who was cold and you helped. No agenda, no ulterior motive, just human decency. Owen didn't know what to say. You reminded me why I started my company in the first place, Victoria continued. I wanted to build something that treated people well. That proved you could be successful and still have a soul. Somewhere along the way I'd forgotten that. You reminded me. The waiter brought their coffee. Owen wrapped his hands around his cup, grateful for something to do with them. I wanted to say thank you properly, Victoria said. Not just return your coat, but actually talk to you. Get to know the person who probably saved my career without even knowing it. I didn't do anything special. That's exactly what makes it special. She took a sip of her coffee. So tell me about yourself, Owen Mitchell. What do you do? Here it was. The moment he'd been dreading. Owen took a breath. I was an accountant at Miller and Associates, but I got laid off 3 weeks ago. So right now I'm looking for work. He waited for her expression to change, for pity to flash across her face. But she just nodded. I'm sorry. That must be difficult. It's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but I'll figure something out. What did you study? In college? Accounting. And before that, I did 2 years of environmental science, but I switched. It seemed more practical to do accounting. Better job prospects, you know? Why environmental science? No one had asked him that in years. I liked it. I was interested in sustainability, renewable energy, figuring out how to make things better for the planet. But everyone kept telling me there was no money in it. No real careers unless you wanted to be a researcher or something. So I switched. Do you miss it? Owen thought about it. Really thought about it. Yeah, he admitted. Yeah, I do. Accounting was fine. It paid the bills. But it never felt like it mattered, you know? I was just moving numbers around. Victoria was quiet for a moment, studying him. What if I told you that my company is launching a sustainability initiative? We're trying to reduce our environmental impact, find ways to manufacture more responsibly. It's a big project, expensive, complicated. Owen's heart started beating faster. I'm looking for someone to help lead it, she continued. Someone who actually cares about this stuff, not just someone checking boxes to make the company look good. That sounds amazing. Would you be interested? Owen's mouth went dry. Are you? Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you a conversation about a job. I need to be honest with you, Owen. Part of me wants to help you because you helped me, but I can't hire someone just because they were nice to me once. That wouldn't be fair to my company or to you. I don't have any real experience in corporate sustainability, Owen said, forcing himself to be honest. Just undergrad coursework from 6 years ago. I know, but you have something more important. You have genuine interest. You care. She pulled out her phone. I want to try something. An experiment, maybe. I'll give you access to some of our company data, facility reports, energy usage, manufacturing processes. Take 2 weeks. Look through everything. See if you can find ways we could improve. Create a presentation. Show me what you'd do if you had the chance. Like a trial run? Exactly. If your ideas are good, if you show me you can do this work, then we'll talk seriously about a position. If not, at least you'll have something substantial to put on your resume for other opportunities. She met his eyes. I want you to prove to yourself that you earned this. Not that it was charity. Owen felt something loosen in his chest. She wasn't just handing him a job. She was giving him a chance to earn it. Okay, he said. Yes, I'll do it. Good. She smiled, and it was genuine. Patricia will send you all the information you need. You can work from home. Take the full 2 weeks. And Owen? Yeah? Don't hold back. Tell me the truth about what you find, even if it's ugly. I need someone who's honest. I have plenty of people who tell me what I want to hear. They talked for another hour, about her company, about the industry, about what sustainability could really mean. Victoria was sharp, asked good questions, seemed genuinely interested in his opinions. By the time they stood up to leave, Owen felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Thank you, he said as they walked to the door. For this chance. Thank me by doing good work. She paused. That night at the bus stop, you told me anyone would have done the same thing. But they wouldn't have. Most people would have walked right past me. You didn't. Now I'm not walking past you. Owen watched her get into a car, a different driver this time. He stood on the sidewalk with his cold coffee and thought about the next 2 weeks. He had work to do. Owen didn't sleep much over the next 2 weeks. Not because he was worried, but because he couldn't stop working. The files Patricia sent him were massive. Hundreds of documents. Energy reports from 12 different facilities. Water usage data. Waste disposal records. Supply chain information. Manufacturing processes he had to Google just to understand. It was overwhelming at first, just staring at spreadsheets that seemed to go on forever. But then he started to see patterns. One facility in Indiana was using 3 times more energy than a similar-sized facility in Ohio. Why? He dug deeper, found that their equipment was older, less efficient. Nobody had bothered to upgrade it because it still worked. But it was costing the company thousands of dollars every month in wasted electricity. The waste disposal records were even more interesting. Brennan Industries was paying a company to haul away manufacturing scraps that could actually be recycled. Owen found a recycling facility 40 miles from their biggest plant that would take the material for free. They'd even pay for certain metals. The company was literally throwing money away. He worked 14 hours a day. His apartment became covered in printed documents and sticky notes. He made charts, graphs, calculations, called his old environmental science professor, and asked questions about industrial composting, watched YouTube videos about solar panel installation, read case studies from other manufacturing companies that had gone green. His sister called on day 9. "Are you alive? You haven't answered my texts in 3 days. Sorry, I've been busy." "Busy with what? You said you got laid off." He'd told her finally, couldn't hide it anymore. "I'm working on a project. For a potential job. That's great. Where? I'll tell you if I get it. Don't want to jinx it. By the end of 2 weeks." Owen had a 40-page presentation and a plan that could save Brennan Industries over $2 million a year while cutting their environmental impact by almost 40%. He'd checked his numbers 5 times. Had his professor friend review the technical parts. It was good. Really good. But he was terrified. The presentation was scheduled for 3 o'clock on a Wednesday. Victoria's office building was downtown, all glass and steel, the kind of place where everyone looked important and knew exactly where they were going. Owen definitely did not look like he belonged there in his discount store blazer. Patricia met him in the lobby. "Ms. Brennan is excited to see what you've put together. The executive team will be joining as well." "Executive team?" Owen's stomach dropped. "I thought it was just Victoria. She thought it would be good to have others hear your ideas. Don't worry, they don't bite." Patricia smiled, but it didn't help much. The conference room was on the 14th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a table that could seat 20 people. Owen set up his laptop with shaking hands. Victoria came in first, followed by 5 other people in expensive suits. She introduced them quickly. Douglas, the CFO. Layla, head of operations. Frank, chief technology officer. 2 others whose names Owen immediately forgot because his brain was too busy panicking. "Whenever you're ready," Victoria said, sitting down. Owen took a breath, started his presentation. He explained what he'd found, showed them the energy waste, the disposal inefficiencies, the outdated equipment, walked them through his proposal. Upgrade 3 facilities with new energy-efficient equipment, install solar panels on the largest warehouse roof, partner with the recycling facility, implement a company-wide waste reduction program. He showed them the numbers. Initial investment $1.8 million. Annual savings $2.3 million. The investment would pay for itself in less than a year, then become pure profit after that. Plus, the environmental benefits would be huge. Reduced carbon footprint, less waste in landfills, cleaner manufacturing. The executives were quiet, watching his slides. Owen couldn't read their faces. When he finished, Victoria spoke first. "This is impressive work, Owen, really impressive." Douglas leaned forward. "These numbers are solid. I had my team run some preliminary checks yesterday after Ms. Brennan shared your initial findings. You're right about the Indiana facility. That equipment should have been replaced 5 years ago." "The recycling partnership is smart," Layla added. "I can't believe we didn't think of that ourselves." Owen felt his shoulders relax slightly. "They liked it." They actually liked it. Then Frank cleared his throat. "I have a question." Here it comes, Owen thought. "Ms. Brennan mentioned you met at a bus stop, that she gave you this opportunity because you were kind to her one evening." Frank's voice wasn't hostile, but it wasn't warm either. "How do we know this presentation is really about merit?" How do we know? You're not just someone who got lucky by helping the CEO. The room went silent. Owen felt his face get hot. Frank, Victoria's voice was sharp. That's not, no, it's okay. Owen interrupted her. He looked directly at Frank. You're right to ask. I've been asking myself the same thing for 2 weeks. He stood up straighter. I did meet Miss Brennan at a bus stop. I gave her my coat because she was freezing. I didn't know who she was. Didn't know she could help my career. I just saw someone who needed help. He paused. But that's not why I'm standing here right now. I'm here because I spent 2 weeks analyzing your company's operations and found real problems with real solutions. Problems that are costing you money and hurting the environment. Owen pulled up a different slide. You want to know if this is about merit? Let me show you something I didn't include in the main presentation. Your facility in Wisconsin has a water filtration system that's operating at 60% efficiency. You're paying for water treatment that's not even working properly. I found 3 different vendors who could fix it for under $50,000, and it would save you about $200,000 a year in water costs and regulatory fees. He pulled up another slide. Your suppliers for raw materials are shipping from 3 different locations when they could consolidate to 2. That's unnecessary transport costs and extra carbon emissions. Rerouting would save you another $100,000 annually. Owen looked around the room. I found these things because I spent 2 weeks actually caring about this project. Not because Ms. Brennan helped me, but because she gave me the chance to prove what I could do. So yes, I got lucky that night at the bus stop, but what I'm showing you today has nothing to do with luck. Frank sat back in his chair. He was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Fair enough. Victoria was looking at Owen with something like pride in her eyes. Anyone else have questions? Layla raised her hand. When can you start? Owen blinked. I'm sorry. When can you start working here? Because we need someone running this sustainability program. And from what I'm seeing, you're the right person. I agree, Douglas said. This is exactly the kind of forward thinking we need. Owen looked at Victoria. She was smiling now. I think what they're trying to say is you're hired. If you want the job. Yes, I want the job. Good. Victoria stood up. Patricia will handle all the paperwork. Your official title will be Director of Sustainability. You'll report directly to me for the first 6 months until we build out your department. Salary is $90,000 to start with performance bonuses. Does that work for you? $90,000. Owen had been making $42,000 at his last job. That works. The other executives filed out, several of them shaking Owen's hand, congratulating him. Frank was last. He stopped at the door. I'm sorry if I came across harsh. I've just seen too many people get ahead because of who they know rather than what they can do. I get it, Owen said. No hard feelings. When everyone had left, it was just Owen and Victoria in the conference room. She walked over to where he was still standing by his laptop. You did it, she said. You proved yourself. I was so nervous I thought I might throw up, she laughed. You didn't show it. That presentation was professional, thorough, and brilliant. Everything I hoped it would be. Thank you for the chance, really. I know you didn't have to, Owen. She stopped him. Stop thanking me. You earned this. That night at the bus stop, you showed me your character. Today, you showed me your competence. That's a rare combination. Owen packed up his laptop, still not quite believing this was real. He had a job. A good job. Doing work he actually cared about. As they walked to the elevator, Victoria said, You know what the best part is? That night when you gave me your coat, you were worried you'd never see it again. You sacrificed something you needed to help a stranger. Now that stranger is giving you the chance to build something meaningful. That's not charity, Owen. That's the universe balancing itself out. The elevator doors opened. Owen stepped inside. See you Monday, Victoria said. See you Monday. The doors closed. Owen watched the numbers descend. 14, 13, 12. His reflection stared back at him from the polished elevator walls. He looked different somehow, like he'd grown taller in the last 2 weeks. When he got outside, the late afternoon sun was warm on his face. He pulled out his phone and called his sister. Hey, remember that project I was working on? Yeah? I got the job. She screamed so loud he had to hold the phone away from his ear. Owen walked down the street toward the bus stop, grinning like an idiot. A woman was sitting on the bench, shivering slightly in the autumn wind. She looked cold. Owen didn't have an extra coat this time, but he sat down next to her and waited for the bus to come. 6 months later, Owen stood in front of Brennan Industries' main manufacturing facility. and watched workers install the last solar panel on the warehouse roof. 200 panels total, gleaming in the winter sun. They'd be operational by next week. It still felt surreal sometimes. That he worked here. That this was his project. That people actually listened to his ideas. His team had grown to 5 people now. Actual employees who reported to him. Rachel handled waste management coordination. Tom focused on energy efficiency. Keisha worked with suppliers on sustainable materials. 2 others managed data and reporting. They were good people. Passionate people. People who actually cared about making a difference. The Indiana facility had new equipment. The recycling partnership was saving them $18,000 a month. The Wisconsin water system was fixed. Every single thing Owen had proposed in that presentation was either done or in progress. Victoria had been right. The projects paid for themselves faster than anyone expected. The board was happy. The investors were happy. And Owen was happy because he was doing work that mattered. His phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. Coffee tomorrow morning? Want to discuss something with you? Owen smiled. Their coffee meetings had become a regular thing. Sometimes they talked about work. Sometimes they just talked about life. She'd become more than a boss. More like a mentor. Or maybe even a friend. The next morning, Owen met her at Lucia's, the same cafe where she'd first offered him the trial project. It felt fitting somehow. You've done incredible work these past 6 months, Victoria said once they sat down. Better than I could have hoped. Thanks. The team makes it easy. Everyone's really committed, I've noticed. And so has the media. She pulled out her phone, showed him an article. Forbes just ranked us in the top 10 most sustainable manufacturing companies in the country. 2 years ago, we weren't even in the top 50. Owen felt pride swell in his chest. That's amazing. It's because of you. Victoria set her phone down, which is why I want to talk about something. I've been thinking a lot about that night at the bus stop. About kindness. About how one small act changed both of our lives. Where are you going with this? I want to start a program. A foundation, maybe. Something that helps people who are struggling, but have potential. People like you were 6 months ago. People who just need one chance. Owen leaned forward. What kind of program? I'm still figuring it out. But I keep thinking about how you gave me your coat without knowing who I was or what I could do for you. You just saw someone who needed help. And I want to create something that operates on that same principle. Not charity. Not handouts. But genuine opportunities for people to prove themselves. That sounds incredible. Victoria smiled. I want you to help me build it. You understand what it's like to be on the other side. To need help but also need dignity. They spent the next hour brainstorming. A job training program. Partnerships with shelters. A mentorship system. Small grants to help people afford professional clothes, transportation, certification courses. All the little things that keep people stuck in poverty even when they're trying to climb out. We should focus on basics first, Owen said. Like winter coats. Do you know how hard it is to get to a job interview when you don't have a decent coat? Or how embarrassing it is to show up somewhere professional looking like you're freezing? Victoria was quiet for a moment. The Coat Project. What? That's what we'll call it. The Brennan Coat Project. We'll start there. Provide coats to people who need them. But not just coats. Each coat comes with information about job training, resume help, interview preparation. We give them warmth and we give them resources. I love it, Owen said. But it should be more than just your company. We should get other businesses involved. Make it a citywide thing. Even better. They launched the program in November just as the weather turned cold. Brennan Industries donated the first 1,000 coats. 5 other companies joined in. They set up distribution sites at homeless shelters, community centers, libraries. Each coat came with a card listing free resources. Job training programs, resume workshops, interview coaching, even bus passes to get to job interviews. The response was overwhelming. They ran out of coats in 2 weeks. Companies started calling, wanting to join. Regular people donated their old winter coats. A local dry cleaner offered to clean all donated coats for free. The program that was supposed to help a few hundred people suddenly helped thousands. Owen worked with the shelters directly, meeting people who received coats. He heard their stories. Single mothers working 2 jobs, veterans trying to get back on their F4, at kids who'd aged out of foster care with nowhere to go, people who just needed one break, one chance, one moment of kindness. One woman told him, I had a job interview last week, first one in months, but I didn't have a coat. I was going to skip it because I couldn't show up looking homeless. Then I got one from your program. I went to the interview, I got the job. This coat saved my life. Owen thought about his own coat, the blue one he'd given away. How something so simple had changed everything. December 20th, exactly 1 year. After that night at the bus stop, they held a fundraiser event. A big fancy thing at a downtown hotel. Business leaders, city officials, people who wrote checks with lots of zeros. Owen hated these kinds of events usually, all the small talk and networking. But Victoria had asked him to speak. He stood at the podium, looking out at 200 people in expensive clothes. A year ago, he started, I was standing at a bus stop in 15-degree weather. I just worked late, I was tired, and I was broke. I had maybe $10 in my wallet, and I saw a woman shivering without a coat. He told the story, the whole thing. Giving away his coat, losing his job, getting the package back, the coffee meeting, the trial project, all of it. I didn't give away that coat expecting anything in return, Owen said. I did it because it was the right thing to do, because she was cold and I could help. That's it. That's all kindness needs to be, simple, human, no agenda. He paused, looked at Victoria sitting in the front row. She was smiling. But here's what I've learned this year. Kindness multiplies. That one coat led to a job that let me help an entire company become more sustainable, which led to this program that's helped thousands of people stay warm this winter, which led to job training that's helped hundreds of people find work. One coat, one moment, and look at what happened. The room was silent. So I want to challenge everyone here tonight. You don't need to be rich to make a difference. You don't need to start a foundation or write a big check. Just pay attention to the people around you. See who needs help. Give your coat to someone who's cold. Buy lunch for someone who's hungry. Offer a ride to someone who's stranded. Be kind without expecting anything back. He gripped the podium. Because you never know. That person you help might help someone else. And they'll help someone else. And suddenly your one small act has touched dozens of lives. Hundreds of lives. That's how you change the world. One coat at a time. The applause was thunderous. People stood up. Owen saw some wiping their eyes. After the event, after the speeches and the networking and the donation commitments, Owen stepped outside for some air. The night was cold, felt just like that night a year ago. A young guy was standing near the door shivering. Couldn't have been more than 20. No coat, just a thin hoodie. Owen walked over. Hey man, you okay? Yeah, just waiting for my bus. It's late. Owen didn't have an extra coat this time, but he had something better. He pulled out one of the program cards from his pocket. There's a distribution site 3 blocks from here. Opens at 8 tomorrow morning. They'll give you a coat, no questions asked, and there's information about job training programs if you need it. The kid took the card, studied it. For real? For real. Just show up. They'll help you. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. No problem. Stay warm. Owen walked toward his car, parked a block away. He thought about that night a year ago. How cold he'd been waiting for his bus. How he never imagined that giving away his coat would lead to all of this. His phone buzzed. Text from his sister. Saw your speech on the news. So proud of you. Another text from Victoria. You're changing lives, Owen. Never forget that. He sat in his car for a moment before starting the engine. Through the windshield, he could see the young guy still waiting at the bus stop, reading the card. Tomorrow he'd get a coat. Maybe that coat would keep him warm for a job interview. Maybe that job would change his life. Maybe he'd help someone else someday. One coat at a time. Owen smiled and drove home through the cold Chicago night, the city lights reflecting off patches of ice. Everything looked different now. Full of possibility, full of people who might need help, full of chances to be kind. He thought about that woman at the bus stop a year ago, how lost she'd looked, how broken, how one simple gesture had saved her from giving up, and how she'd saved him right back. That's how it works, Owen thought. You give your coat to someone who's cold. They give you a chance when you're desperate. And together, You build something bigger than either of you could have built alone. The light turned green. Owen drove forward, into whatever came next, warm and grateful and ready to help however he could. One coat at a time,